In this video, we're going to work on creating a checkbox. So we have these checkboxes like this, but of course we also have to select all. So if we select all, you can see everything shows again. If we unselect them, they all hide. But if we again select these checkboxes here, you can see that this will start to match up instantly. And if we unselect, it hides one of them again. There we are. So let's start to explore how we can create this interactivity in Chart.js with all of these checkboxes and the select all checkbox. In this video, we will focus on one of the viewers' questions, which is show and hide data sets dynamically with a select all checkbox in Chart.js. So this question came from one of my videos about how to create a dynamic chart with data structures and checkboxes. And here, Shubangi Ingo, and I'm not sure if I say your name correctly, and a special thank you to Shubangi for asking the question. This is what Shubangi asked. I am selecting and deselecting all the checkboxes with select all checkbox, but after clicking on the select on checkbox, the chart is not hiding the data. How to do that? Can you please help? Alright, so I'm going to show to you exactly how, and I will explain as well here. You're on this one here, and this works with onClick. And an onClick function will work only if you onClick on the checkbox itself. And you probably had another checkbox that was not directly connected with those. But don't worry about it. I'm going to show you step by step how to do it. First, what we're going to do is we're going to get a default code. Go to chartjs3.com, getting started link. And you can see here the video that will explain all the code here below. So if you don't understand what I did here in this code, check that video. I'm going to copy this code. And then what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to paste this in here. And once I paste this in, I'm going to cut out this and put it here in the title. Alright. Save that, refresh, there we are. We have now our bar chart. So what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to duplicate two more bar charts, or basically two more data sets. So we have here this data set. Let's grab this one, and we're going to copy it two more times. Comma and comma. Alright. So we have here one is the weekly sales. I'll just leave it as is, and then I'll just remove the red color here, because I know that's a red one. We can just put it nicely like that. Alright, so I'm going to copy this. Remove as well the border color. And this is also a red color. Oh, sorry, this is a blue color, sorry. Because we're going to focus on the blue for the weekly sales. Then we have weekly costs. And of course, weekly costs should have the red color here. So I'm going to remove everything here. Put a comma here. Make sure you have the comma here. I forgot that one. So make sure you do that, or else you get an error. Paste this. Here, number one, alright, this is red, and then we have weekly profits. Weekly profits will be the green one, that's this specific color, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to paste this in here. There we are. Do again here for the border color, but make this an alpha value of 1. Alright, so if I save this and refresh, there we are, we have nice blue, red, and green. Alright, I'm going to give it some different values so you can see different, so they're easy to spot. So I'll make this 9. I'll make this 6, 3, and this will be, well, we can do 6 again. 12 is fine, I accept that. 9, alright. So here, what I want to do here is the weekly cost. It will be 3, 3, 6, 9, alright. And then we do here again, 3, 6, and 9, alright. So once we have this one, and that one, that's fine, I'll accept that. So we have a lot of different values, beautiful. So now what we're going to do, because basically we're going to work with 3 different functions. They are working together. I made a video first about this, but that was so, the functions were not working properly, so I redo the video. So let's start to work now on the right part. Alright, so what we have to do here first, inputs. We're going to have in 4 specific inputs. One input will be the select all input and 3 other checkboxes. Or I'm talking about input, but it's input type checkbox, but basically it's 4 checkboxes. One checkbox for selecting them all, and the others are just individually to select these specific ones. Alright, let's work on that right now. So input type. Here, checkbox. And then here I will just say here, value, I will leave that for this one. And then I will say checked. By default, they are checked. The reason why, because if you see all of these values, they're being displayed. So all of these checkboxes are checked by default. And then you can uncheck them to hide them. So alright, so this one I will say here, make a break. And here we say, this is the select all. Alright, and give it a HR as well. Then next what we have is the specific ones. We're going to put in three times. All right. Then in here we're going to put in a value. The value will be the data set value. This is data set 0, 1, and 2. All right. So that would mean the value 1 here, and I'm going later on to explain why we want to do that or why we're doing this. But if you watch my other video, this specific video here, you should know already. All right. So now we're going to check here. All right. This is checked value 1. All right. So here, what we can do here, just give it a class, or well, not a class, sorry, a function. So we say here onClick, and this is the reason why it didn't work with your things, because you were using this onClick, and onClick only triggers a function if you click on that specific item. So you were probably clicking this, and this had a function that would check mark these automatically, but the onClick is not triggered. That's what I assume. So let's start and work on it. So what we're going to do here, we'll say here onClick, and we say just update chart. And update chart, we get this value. This value is essential for us here. It saves us also a lot of code writing. And this will basically refer to this specific value, but it also grabs everything of this checkbox. So we have this now, and let's update the chart with that. So we're going to say here the following. We have this, and then we say here function update chart. Now update chart will be the data set. So that's the parameter here, and the parameter is basically this. Alright, so don't get confused here. I will show you what this would basically mean. This is the value if you use this here, and that's very powerful. So if I save this now, you will see, open up this, refresh. Alright, we have this, developer tab. And alright, wait, let me just reduce the size of the chart. I think it's 500 pixels. Alright, and if I select here, you can see we get all the values here. But you can see we are on a different one, value 1, 2, and now this is here, value 0. Alright, so we get the entire item. I don't want the entire item. What do I want? I want only the value of that specific item. So save that, oh sorry, type dot value, I'm going maybe quite too fast. Type dot value, refresh, there we are. You can see now we get the values, and these are also the data sets. So we have this now working. So now what I want to do is, of course, create a function where we first of all can see it is being displayed, and if it's not being displayed, it should be hidden, and then it should automatically trigger that. Alright, to do this, luckily it is a nice code that we can use in Chart.js. So let's work on that one. We're going to use here a constant, and we say here data shown, or is data shown, And how do we do that? Well, we use a command called myChart. And if you are wondering why myChart is this constant here, referring specifically on this chart with the document ID myChart. Alright? Then say dot is. And then we say data set visible. So here we can put in a value 1 or etc. What I want to do is I want to get this specific value here. Alright? If I save this now, you will see we get here true or false. So if I click on this, number 2, dataset, this is, sorry, we didn't do a console log yet. Console log that. Is data shown. Save. Refresh. If I select this now, you can see it's true. The reason why it's true is because it shows here. But if I click this, now it's hidden. So it should be false. Now pay attention, if I click on this, it shows false. Alright, so this is basically how we do it. If I do all of this, everything is false. Beautiful. Alright, so this is very important. So basically we have this item now nicely working. And all we can do now is a simple if statement. And this if statement says the following. If the data is shown, or if this equals true, then so basically mean that it's checked, it's shown, and we check on it, or we will have to uncheck it, it will hide it. Alright? So we say here it is. So if is data equals false, and then we say here my chart, and we're going to use a nice command, it's called show. Alright, so what we will do first here, shown data equals false, so it's not showing. In that case, we want to show the data, and which data set do we want to show? This one that we get, or we selected, whatever we clicked on, this parameter here. Alright, so once you have this, we can do this one. We have another if statement that's exactly the same, but then the opposite. So we say here, if data shown is equals true, so it's being shown, then we want to hide the selected or the clicked item. Alright, semicolon, semicolon here. Now, once we save this, you will see here now we have a working model, and pay attention here on the labels as well, or sorry, on the legend. It works nicely. And then we click on that, you can see it becomes green. This, of course, this is not yet matched here, or not match. I'm not going to match this. To match this, it requires more structure within the legend. But I assume if you have this here, you should have a legend here. This is basically your legend. I do forget, or I realized we did not have any profits and costs, so we should put that in there. I'm going to hide the legend and add up here the text. So to hide legends, very straightforward. In the options, plugins, legend, display, false. Make sure you have a comma here. Alright, save that. And when we have that, what we want to do more here, just put in here an item. So this was revenue or sales. Here we had the cost. And here we have the profits. Alright, refresh. Now our legend is gone, and we have some text here below. You can see here when we click on that or uncheck that, red is gone, and red was the cost. Alright, so we have this now. Now what I want to do is I want to use this select here. I want to trigger this now. So how are we going to use the select here? So let me just change this a bit. Alright, so we have this a bit more bigger, and I want this to increase in size a bit. Alright, that looks a bit better. That's easier to see for you. So now, next, what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to work on the next function. And the function here is basically triggering this. If I select or unselect this, all of these needs to be unselected or selected depending on what we have here. And it should hide or show dependent on the case, or dependent on if we check or uncheck. Alright, so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to give this a new function. Let's give it a very straightforward function. And of course, you can give it your own function name, but I'll just give this here the update all. And the update all will have also a value, which would be the checkbox itself. We can just say select all. Alright. And then in here, we're going to work. So what are we going to do here? So we have to do two things. So we have to work on this, because what we have to do here first is to trigger the function. On click. So on click here, and this was select all function name. And next I want to have here a class name, so we can use the query selector here. And this is important because this will save us later on by grabbing all of these specific input IDs. So we just say here, we can give it anything you want. In this case, I'll just make it simple. I'll just say here a data, let's say data checkbox. That's our class. And then we use the query selector all for this. So we can pinpoint these. Because this needs to know if these are checked or unchecked. That's why we have to give this a specific class here now. And I'm going to show you now what I'm going to do here. So here, constant. We have two constants here. Constant number one is basically the, I guess, this item here. Maybe I'll give it an ID. Let's call this select all checkbox. Let's do that one first. So there's a constant all select all checkbox equals get a document dot get element by ID, and that is this. All right. Secondly, what I want to do here is the checkboxes. So we say here constant. Well, let's give this let, so I might use that later on as well, but we'll see. Checkboxes. Alright, so we will name this the checkboxes, and this is basically the three checkboxes that we just give a class. So we say here document dot get. Oh no, sorry, not get, but we say query selector all. Alright, if you're wondering what does this really mean, query means search. Selector is in CSS what we call our selector. Basically, these are anchor tags or tags, just tags. in HTML, but they are in CSS and JavaScript. We tend to use the term selector, but then we want not only one single selector, we want to select all of the same category. In our case, what is the category? We say here dot, which means for class, very important. Make sure this is a string because we need to search for a string. And what is the class name? Data checkbox. All right. This will mean that we will have here, according to this, 3 specific checkboxes. Or basically an array, or not really an array. You cannot call it really an array. It's basically a node. There are nodes. There are 3 nodes. So if I'm going this and a node, I mean node. Yes, that's fine. That's the node that I'm referring to. So if I do this now, you will see what this does. Save this. Refresh. Alright, I realize that this function, of course, has not been triggered yet. Or do we have the triggering already set up? Alright. Select all is not yet defined. Fair enough. This one should be defined as well. Did we have that here? The select all. On click select all. Alright. We forgot here. This is the wrong name. Update all. Sorry. So I'm going to grab this function here. Sorry. So maybe you already noticed it. I didn't pay attention. So rename it correctly. Function name here. So I made that mistake. Function name. Save. Refresh. Alright. You can see we get 3 checkboxes. And all what I really want to know is, are you checked? Is this checked? Yes or no? Oh, you see it jumps automatically the moment I click on it, so I need to be careful. Here I need to look for probably here something with a C. Children. Oh, alright, this is the one we need. Checked, true. That's what we need to know. We need to confirm, are we checked? Yes or no? If it is, that's it. So we have this data now. So now we are able to access the information of our checkboxes. So now what we're going to do here is basically a very straightforward if statement. If this is checked, check all. If we uncheck this, or if this is unchecked, uncheck all. That's what we're going to do now. So we say here the following. We say if. Then we say here the item to select all. And the reason I'm using select all, because remember we have here this parameter refers to this. And this refers to this entire input, this entire input tag here. So that is very useful for us. So all we can do now is just say, is this checked? Yes or no? So we say here if dot checked equals true. Let's do false first. Equals false. If that is the case, in that case, what we have to do is the following. We say here for, because we're going to loop through it, and we say let I equals 0. We have to iterate, and I stands usually for iteration, but you can use any letter or character you want, but I is iteration, and iteration would mean repeating yourself multiple times, or another word equals loop. Alright? So we say here I, and then we loop through this as long as the checkboxes dot length, and here's a very tricky one here basically. Let's do -1. Alright? We'll loop this, but it will say here length is 3 because there are 3 checkboxes. But array starts with 0, so we have 0, 1, 2, meaning 0 is the first value, number 1 is the second value, and number 2 is the third value. And if you would have length 3 here, it will have 4 values in the array. Very important, array 0 base counting. So now we have that. Let's see, where are we now? So we have this -1. Then we have to increment it, so we say I++. Alright, so in here, what we're going to do is this. We say checkboxes. Then we want to pinpoint the specific one by using this array I. And then we say dot checked equals false, meaning we will, if this one is unchecked, if the select all, which is this item here, is unchecked, we want to loop through every checkbox we have with this class name that we have. That's why we have this checkboxes here. And we set the checked equals to false. That's basically what we're doing here, which is quite nice. Alright. Let's put a semicolon here to make sure that this is already done. Alright, if I save this now, let's see what happens. If I do this, there you are. Alright, we see here something is not working. am I missing a specific item? I equals 0, I minus 1 for this. Well, let's see. Am I missing it or am I doing something? Alright, apparently I did something. I made a mistake. So, without that one. Alright. I was not expecting that, but fair enough. That would be fine. So now we have this. So we're almost done here. Put this in here, and then we have here the exact opposite. So if this equals true, so if it's checked, we want to set all checkboxes to that. Alright, so if I refresh now, check, uncheck, or sorry, uncheck, check, there you are. So now let's trigger these here, so it should be triggered, of course, with those that it should be hidden if we unselect it. Alright, so how do we do that? Well, straightforward. All we have to do is this. Remember what we did here. So we have this one here. Now I will just grab this. This is the code we need, because here now we all have to say is here mychart.hide. And what do we hide? The I value. Reason why? It's very simple, because this has the value number. The data set here was specifically when we checked on one item. But here, it is on every one. So we loop through it and all of them will be hidden. So let's do the same here. We say here, show. Save this, refresh. Then, there we are. Select again, there we are. Unselect. Alright, so what happened now? If I do this, there's 2, and then I will do this, hide. Alright, so it works, but you can see, you might say, well, wait a minute. Look at this. You can see here, I check this. Why is select all still selected? Shouldn't be unselected. Yes, absolutely. And this is the reason why I had to redo this video, because I had here, this function had was a big mess for me. So, alright. So let's start and work on this, because I would personally not be happy to see, of course, like a semi-working model, because this should be matching here, or at least it should respond to this intelligently. So let's make the final function here. So this is the last function here. So we're going to work on this function. So this function is basically a very simple one. It's our checker basically. So we're going to say a function, and let's give this a checkbox checker, yeah, or select all checker. I have no idea. Select all checker. This one has no parameter. And then in here, what we need to do is, and this is what we should have, is basically the following. We're going to grab, first of all, this specific one, and this is why we have the let. This is what we need again. We are not allowed to use constant twice, or const. So another item what we should have is the ID. I guess we need to have this ID again. This should be basically as well let. Well, let's see if it works. If it works, it's fine with me. But I probably will get an error here. Oh, it's not yet. It's alright. I'll just convert this to let for now. Later on we can validate that, because we will have to check later on, because we need to connect this function with this specific function here, and I will show you later why. Alright, so what are we going to do here? We have this here, and basically what we need to do, we need to loop through all of these items. And what I will do is I will loop through it and give it a value. So every time if something is checked, we'll say +1. And so it's 1, 2, 3. So we expect the 3 values. So if we do +1, +1, +1, and if this is equals to the specific value we expected, it should be checked. If one is unchecked, we should only have 2 points, meaning that this should be unchecked because it's lower than the expected value. Alright? Because I had another way to do it, but that other way was working against me. And that is the reason why I make this way. Because this is the way how I could make it work properly. Alright. So we say here let x equals 0. So yes, this is our what we call the value of +1 consistently. I'm going to show you later on. So then we say here for. So we're going to make a for loop, and as we say let I equals 0. Alright. And then we say here, we'll loop through it if it's bigger or equal to, and then basically we have the checkboxes. This is why we need the checkbox again, dot length. The dot length here is -1. And the reason why we have -1, because we expect here the value of 3. Now we can see if this is really a big, oh yes, that is correct. This should be correct. because this one is +1, but the I not, because we only have 2. The length here, you will see the length is equal to 2. Sorry, it's 3, but the I iteration is only 3 times. Remember that. So here we didn't do it, but here it will be required to do. Then we say I++. Alright, so just follow along, it's probably easier to follow along. Then we say here if, and then we say here again, checkboxes I, and then we say here, because here we're going to validate, are you checked? If checked equals strict true. If that is the case, I want to do x++. If that's not the case, there is no x++. And this is the way how we're going to work with it. And once we have this, we can create our next part, which is the if statement here. So we say if, there is a second if statement, say if x equals checkboxes length. Alright, and this checkboxes length is 3 because we have 3 checkboxes, and this x value is also 3 because we have we loop this 3 times. Alright, so then we have this. We can say here the we need to get this specific item because we want to pinpoint this select all, and then we say here dot checked equals true, and else, you guess it, if that's not the case, equals false. Alright, so before I save this, because I think you might see it here, alright, so this doesn't work. Alright, so now I'm going to save it and refresh. Oh, let's see here, I have this unexpected token, 126. That one is smaller or equal to, or am I correct, or am I missing something? Oh, of course, sorry. The reason why this was incorrect, this is correct, sorry, but we forgot the I here. Make sure you have the I here, because that's our comparison value. Refresh, uncheck. Alright, it doesn't work yet. Oh yeah, so why it didn't work? We didn't connect or chain the function here. So that's what I said in the beginning, what we have to do. So let's copy this. This is the function name, and then we go in here. So the moment we select this one, we want to activate this function here and check if this is true or false. So all we do is this. We grab here the function name, semicolon at the end, save that, refresh. Alright, so now we select, there you are, and we select this. Alright, and then we do this. This works nice. Do that. That works nice. And if I then select this, there you are. So now we have a complete full working model here. Beautiful. So this is one of the options that you can do, and there's of course still a lot more with interactions, and especially if you are interested in data structures, I would highly recommend you to check this video as well. So this one goes with data structures and with a drop down, has another way of using interactivity on your chart. I will put the link in here. It will pop up right now somewhere here.